what happens after this year, I think that's a big story. But there is the current story of Tampa and the fact that Tom Brady, they almost needed a quarterback, and then he had the change of heart and comes back. They come off a 13-win season. They win the division again. They do lose in the division round to the Rams, who went on to win the Super Bowl. And they make a coaching change. Bruce Arians now out. Todd Bowles moves up to the head coaching position, his second now attempt at a head coach, or his second opportunity, I should say, not attempt, as a head coach. He was with the Jets a couple of years ago. Byron Leftwich still there as the offensive coordinator. What are our expectations of the Bucs as we wait to see if Gronk comes back and joins the fray as well? So far, he's not. But you have Tom Brady back. You have a couple of changes, but for the most part, this is a team that people still feel like is a contender. Do you?
Yeah, I absolutely believe in a contender. When you think about everything that they lost, you have to also look at what they got, right? You look at Kyle Rudolph. Now, he's not Gronk, but he's a guy that can set the edge. Cameron Brady is going to be the workhorse. But look at all the other people, Shaq Mason coming in, Logan Ryan coming in. They kind of petrified this team. And I love Russell Gage, who I think is an underrated receiver. Now he goes in the slot and replaces Antonio Brown. You expect Chris Godwin to come back at some point this year. And you look at what they were able to add in Keanu Neal, who's probably going to go back to his natural position, who for everybody out there don't understand, he was Jamal Adams before Jamal Adams got into the league. Had a slew of injuries, but he came in as a highly touted safety, played linebacker last year. So I love what they've done. With that being said, Akeem Hicks coming in and replacing Ndamukong Suh is an upgrade. And you put that with Villa. I expect that to be a hard team to run on, even harder than last year. We know how exciting that was. But, in a world of clickbait, and, I like to be first for everybody within that division. And I heard them say that they believe that the Bucs are the third best team as far as Super Bowl or contenders in the NFC. I want to add one to the fray, and I want to add the New Orleans Saints, because I think that the New Orleans Saints, who's only lost to the Buccaneers once, as the biggest threat for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have a disappointing season, because I believe that the upgrades that they've made and their ability for some reason to know how to beat the Tampa Bay Bucs is amazing. Just sometimes styles make fights, and the fact that they've won and they're beating Tom Brady with different quarterbacks not named Drew Brees, I think that, it's going to be the question of what replacement that was there, whether it's Carmichael or is Todd Bowles, can get their team going in the right direction.
Everybody should understand that Bart has said on our show, Bart and Hahn, noon Eastern, weekdays on ESPN Radio, he has said that he feels like Jameis Winston is being slept on. And you think he's going to have a big year. You think that he's a guy that actually, and we'll get to this later in the show, you have him ahead of Dak Prescott when it comes to quarterback rankings, which set a lot of people off. So you're a big believer in Jameis Winston.
He was 5-2 last year.
And you think that the Saints are going to be maybe better than a lot of other people want to give credit for. But just, again, focusing on Tampa and where they are right now, with Tom Brady retiring and then unretiring, what are your expectations of him this year? And is this it? Do you see him playing beyond this year? Do you see him playing in Tampa beyond this year?
I think this is it. I think this was his original goal, right, to play to 45, and we all laughed at him when he was in New England saying he wanted to play to 45. And he's a guy that I think always keeps receipts and always wants to make sure that he does what he says he's going to do. And I think that maybe that was bothering him, the fact that I wanted to play 13 years. And I almost came back and played injured and took a small contract so that I can do what I said in my mind. So, when you're set in that and you have that end goal in your mind, you want to do that because it's like dying an unsettled death. So I think that, he has an opportunity to ride up to the sunset. This team is very equipped, and sometimes it takes a little good fortune. But you look at what they lost and you look at what they replaced it with, I think they got better in a lot of positions. And I think he's saying, all right, this is the last one, and I can go off and say, hey, I played for 45 like I said I was going to do. And, he's already the greatest quarterback in NFL history, arguably the greatest winner in sports, not named Bill Russell.
Now, when it comes to the team itself this year, Leonard Fournette showed up, I believe it was 40 pounds overweight.
Don't worry about it.
Right? There was that. You're not worried about that. Okay. The offensive line is always important in front of Tom Brady. If there's a concern about the Bucs, and again, it's now a new head coach as well.
Yeah.
What would be your concern about Tampa this year in a quest to win another championship?
I don't have many because look at the additions that they made. You bring hungry guys. You bring a veteran like Akeem Hicks, who have been one of the best interior linemen. You put him next to Villa. Like, who the hell are you doubling? Like, you talk about having to pitch the ball out of a well. You have two of the biggest, nose tackles outside of, like, maybe Philadelphia's the only other people that can make that claim with Fletcher Cox and their draft pick Davis. They say that they can push the pocket from the inside, and then you think about the pass rusher that they have on the outside if Shaq Barrett can get back, to where he was before. And this defense took a step back, and a lot had to do with COVID and a lot had to do with the injuries early in the season. But now you have a secondary that lost Jordan Whitehead, but they are back intact, and I expect them to play at a much higher level than they did last year.
You see the start of the season is with Cowboys, Saints, Packers, Chiefs. Chicken. Those first 4 weeks, wow. You said that, they really don't have many needs. Will they eventually? You mentioned Kyle Rudolph. You like that addition.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, he's an impact player, but he's got to stay healthy. Will they need Gronk eventually? Do you expect that Gronk will play this year?
Listen, like, if this team looks dominant, but looks like, when they play like the Saints early on, they look like they're struggling a little bit. I can see, like, Gronkowski not wanting to go to training camp, not wanting to put his body through that. But what happens is when you're not doing anything, you start working out and you're not taking the hits, right? So your body gets fresher and fresher. And what happens is, you see another opportunity to have some fun with your friend, and your friend makes that call. No different last year when Waddle was playing basketball, and he was like, oh, man, you want to play? You want to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You in shape? I mean, I'm in enough shape. And he came out and got her done. You know what I mean? Gronk is like a utility player. Remember the late, great Junior Seau, who would film a show during the week and show up to Patriots games, get the game plan on Thursday. I mean, you talk about a life. Gronk has earned that opportunity because we know that he doesn't need training camp. We know that he doesn't need timing with Tom Brady. They share a brain. It probably bothers Tom Brady when some of Gronk's thoughts gets in his mind, but it's okay.
Some things that probably are disturbing, right? Like I don't want to hear that. I don't even want to know about that. According to Caesars, Tampa's got the lowest odds of any team in either conference. So the any team in the league.
I said it. Watch out for the Saints.
I know you have, but what I'm saying to reach the Super Bowl. So the only team with shorter odds than Tampa to win is Buffalo. So that's how much Vegas believes in the Bucs. How much do you believe in them? Give me your. First and foremost, they were a 12-win team last year. If I set an over/under at 11.5 for the Bucs, you going over or under?
I'm going over. You know what I mean? Because I think that, listen, they're well coached. They've been together at this point 3 years. So you start to grow packages and everybody's comfortable. They've heard everything. And then you just got to coach. And so now you got a bunch of little coaches that can coach up the new guys and get them up to speed. And that's kind of what you wait for. Like year 3 is like that sweet spot. Year 2, you try and figure it out, and then sometimes you take a step back, which they didn't. And I think the third year is a year where everybody are having that nonverbal communication where they can think what the player next to them is going to do based off their body language and what you see in front of you happening, and you can adjust on the fly.
So you're going over?
I'm going over. I'm going over. But
you're going over, but you're saying that the Saints are going to push them for the division. I mean, you're not going to win the division. You're going to get 12 wins.
Yeah, you can lose the division with 12 wins.
You can remember the Patriots with 12 wins.
It's an extra game, so really 12 wins is really like 11. We've seen teams lose the division with 11 wins.
You just want to believe so much in the Saints, don't you?
Listen, I don't care about the Saints. I just keep it real. And, like, when you look at Jameis Winston 5-2 last year, you look at what they added from Landry to Michael Thomas, who was DeAndre Hopkins. Remember who that man was before he got hurt.
I hear you.
And now he's back, and if he's healthy, come on, man. He goes back, to top 5 receiver in his league. And then now you give him a young, Olave? You give him a young, explosive guy down the field, and Jarvis Landry, Kamara. That is a crazy – that is a crazy offensive opportunity.
Remember, no Sean Payton there, though, so things will be a little bit different. But, all right, let's just back to the Bucs show real quick because I kind of teased this. It's out there, but because there really isn't an obvious landing spot for Jimmy G, I'm trying to think of places that maybe they'd have to, you always think about your future, where are we going next? I mean, could Tampa be a landing spot for him only because you have no idea what Tom's doing? You don't know what he's doing after this year.
Yeah,
would it be awkward to have him around? Would it be just I look at it as insurance.
Yeah, you got Kyle Trask, who they really love from the University of Florida.
I keep hearing that.
Going into his third year.
Yeah.
And I think, I think where Jimmy G is at, like you can get Jimmy G because he's on an expiring contract. You can get him next year if Tom decides to retire. That may be a likely destination. I think wherever, at the point wherever Jimmy G goes, nobody's going to give him an extension. You got 3 great quarterbacks or good young prospects coming out of college.
Right.
So, like now, the free agent market for quarterbacks is going to be even crazier next year, right? Maybe it's a spot that's going to open up later in the year, for Carson Wentz if he's on his last